It would be interesting to see if both of those guys get on the field and how that ultimately looks, or if there's only one, what Pochettino does. Because as good as Serginho Dest is, and he is good, and he can play multiple positions, if that musical chairs happens and that music stops, who's ultimately the starter if you can only start one of them?
And I did see some people on X talking about the possibility of him being a starter at the World Cup.
For years, I have said form is fallacy, and it works both ways. If the soccer gods conspired to have the United States make the final this summer, what that rating would be. To have people unite and celebrate the country, again, on our 250th birthday, I think that would be something that would live long, and long past my lifetime, long past your lifetime. Hello, sunshine. I'm Alexi, Lalas, and welcome to the State of the Union podcast, where we look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue-colored glasses. Now, this show, we'll be talking some Champions League group madness, craziness, I tell you. U.S. winning the Men's World Cup, ? USL implementing pro-rel, goalkeeper goals. Let's see, we got Tillman and Luna and Freeman and a 1994 reunion, some more Oscar films, and so much more. But first, joining us, as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding lights. Yes, you know him, you love him, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox Soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire. Mosse, how you doing on this? Let me put on my cheaters here. We're looking at Wednesday, January 28th in the year 2026.
I'm doing well. Kudos to you for getting through that opening despite having a substandard prompter operator.
Well, you know what? We have different people operating and behind the prompter. And look, I know the prompter operators over the years, like you said, we've had good and bad. It is a skill. It is an art. And the men and women that do it deserve incredible amounts of praise. I mean, not for nothing, but whoever operates President Trump's prompter, that person, speaking of medals, that person should get a medal going forward. How you doing, my friend? Everything good?
Have not been sleeping well lately.
Really? We've talked about your sleep habits and the medication that you've been using, the gummies and all that kind of stuff. Nothing seems to suffice here?
Yeah, the ZZ Quill not working well of late.
Oh, really? As you know, we're going to spread out the what are we watching through the show and a little bit later here. But I will mention, because you had brought it up a while ago, and I know there's lots of Bruce Springsteen fans here. I finally got around to watching Deliver Me From Nowhere, starring Jeremy Allen White. It's not good. It's not a good movie. I don't think it's a great depiction of Bruce Springsteen. I think it leaves so much to be desired when it comes to what I think is a pretty plentiful and fruitful type of character to base a movie on. But I just think it did not, speaking of not going anywhere, it went nowhere for me.
I agree. It's one of the great zags in pop culture history, Bruce releasing that Nebraska album at that stage of his career. It should have made for a better story. It made for an interesting book, which the movie was based on, but it didn't really translate. Those flashbacks to his father didn't quite work. The female lead was not a real character. It was a composite character.
Right. I looked that up. I was like, but I think she, I don't know if she got nominated or anything like that. I don't think anything got nominated. So all in all, just not a great thing with something that had so much potential. So anyway, should we light this candle, my friend?
Let's do it.
Where shall we start?
We're going to begin with some transfer news involving a U.S. international. Alex Freeman, it appears, is on his way to Villarreal for a fee of $4 million plus another $3 million in add-ons. You might recall Orlando City turned down an offer from Villarreal in a previous window, but they had to sell him now because his contract was going to be up at the end of the season and he was going to leave for free. So Alex Freeman is headed to Spain. At the same time, there are reports that Diego Luna is attracting interest from Celta Vigo and Espanyol. We've talked about this. Some of these MLS-based U.S. internationals were going to have interesting decisions to make in this window. Normally, you'd think going to a top league in Europe would enhance your national team chances, but Mauricio Pochettino has been so bullish on MLS and has called up so many MLS players that it's going to be tricky what these players do. Freeman is on his way. We'll see about Luna.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this as, a bird in the hand, right? And there's this risk reward that all of these players, whether they're in MLS or not, are doing. We've talked so much about Weston McKennie and what he potentially could do if and when they are playing. and playing well and starring. There's a lot of people, as I have said time and time again, that look at Freeman as not just making the team, but potentially starting out there on that right-hand side. Now, it would be interesting to see how that would ultimately shape up. But again, you mentioned the end of his contract. When you say the end of an MLS contract, that's at the end of the year as opposed to the summer. But still, if people that are bullish on Freeman, or if he's bullish on himself, if he were to star this summer, while he would still have a little bit to his contract, the money that would be involved in a transfer fee would theoretically be less, but his value would increase. Having said that, the potential to go to what are they in fourth place right now
Fourth
in La
place
Liga?
in La Liga.
I mean, this is it's a pretty nice move, but if he were to star this summer and play, would there be an even nicer move for him? And it might still be there, and all still might work out. But you also at times have to look at the big picture and play the long game here, because again, the whistle will blow, and the whistle will blow to end the World Cup. And what are you left with? And that risk that we're talking about for a lot of players out there.
And Freeman is a player whose influence with the U.S. is rising. I believe Doug McIntyre had him in his projected starting 11 for the World Cup, and lots of other people do too. So it's going to be interesting to see how these few months go with Villarreal and how that affects his standing with the national team.
But that's also the position you play matters, right? Because Luna, I think he can make his mark and therefore increase his value by coming in as a substitute, because I don't think anybody has Luna necessarily starting unless something were to happen, and you never put it past Pochettino. But because of the position he plays and the way that he plays, I mean, he is fundamentally a player that is being asked when he comes on the field to provide something different and to provide a spark and to be creative. And so I think he can do that. It gets a little dicier and more difficult as a defender because normally defenders don't get substituted a lot. And as a defender coming on, it's hard to really make your mark unless it's going up and scoring a goal. So Luna has an opportunity, I think, to come on and be that spark plug.
Yeah, we should note Tom Bogert has been all over both these stories, Freeman and Luna. He said a Luna move right now is unlikely. He thinks with Luna he'll stick around till after the World Cup, but Freeman is going now.
Yeah, and maybe it's different. Like I said, if I see Luna, I've never seen him before, right? And I'm watching the World Cup, and I see this guy, and who knows what color his hair is at that point, and all tatted up and coming in and changing the game and providing that spark and being creative, scoring a goal, having an assist, whatever it ends up being. This summer, again on the global stage on that platform, if you're his agent and Luna for that matter, you got to be rubbing your hands together, but you got to be on the field, and so we don't know how that's going to play out.
So we mentioned Villarreal are fourth in La Liga. They're having a much tougher time in the Champions League. Winless in 8 games. They crashed out of the competition today as we transition to the final match day of the league phase of the UEFA Champions League. Villarreal suffered a 3-0 defeat away to Leverkusen. The good news from an American perspective, 2 of those Leverkusen goals courtesy of Malik Tillman, including one where he took advantage of a playing out of the back debacle.
Well, for a lot of teams, it's redundant to say playing out of the back debacle, right? I mean, I was just on the old X machine over here, and someone was saying, I mean, they were like, they had a tinfoil hat on about this. They felt that it was, something that had been contrived behind the scenes to put people in positions to fail when it comes to playing out of the back, and so many people have taken it on that aren't able to play out of the back, and maybe, who knows if that's true or not. But the premise is right in that because of the advent of playing out of the back, and it has become so sexy and almost associated with playing correctly, there are lots of teams and players for that matter, and coaches for that matter, that implement it that have no business doing. But in this case, Malik Tillman said, I will take this gift that you are going to give me by playing out of the back, but not knowing what you're doing and not having the individual quality, let alone the actual individual quality of the actual goalkeeper. And I'm going to take that. I am going to block you playing out of the back, 2 yards off your line, and it's going to go in the back. Now, he did follow it up because that's just like an opportunistic goal. He did follow it up with his second goal that was anything but. It showed his incredible talent outside of the box, and he smacked it.
hadn't scored in a while. He's had some injury problems of late, so it was great to see him get back on track today. As we go through these games, just a reminder, 36 teams, the top 8 advance to the round of 16, 9 through 24 advance to a playoff round, and then 25 through 36 are eliminated. So Leverkusen, they moved on to the playoff round. As did Monaco and Juventus, who played to a 0-0 draw today. Folarin Balogun and Weston McKennie both started for their respective sides.
This was crazy today, by the way, Mosse. I mean, you showed up 5 minutes before. Were you at the bar or something? What were you doing? I was in here with everybody. You know, we had as many screens as we could possibly get.
I should ask you that. It was the second year under this format where we have this crazy conclusion to the league phase, 18 matches kicking off simultaneously. Did you enjoy it as much as everybody else?
I liked it, and I enjoyed it, and it certainly added another element of drama. Now, we've had drama in the past with the traditional way, but it was almost too many games. You know, even if you're watching, you know, the Golazo, which is the what do you call it, the wraparound or the red zone, whatever you want to call it, thing that CBS has over there. There's still, I mean, there was 60 some odd goals, so it was almost impossible to follow it. And I kind of waited to halftime where they could just show us as many goals as possible. But I felt myself in a heightened level of anticipation, and I felt the drama. And so I think if you're UEFA, this is exactly what you wanted to construct. Doesn't always work out, but this is exactly what you wanted. And following who was in, who was out, who was in the direct to the playoffs, and who wasn't in that, and who actually fell out. And even at the last minute at the depth, we had some drama.
Any thoughts on Balogun or McKennie today?
No, I have no thoughts on that other than I think they are both, for me, they are both starters. For me, Weston McKennie, I think just in the span of the last year has improved and evolved. And sometimes, you know, players hit their ceiling, and this is as good as it's going to get. Now, when it comes to Weston McKennie, I think he has found another level. Balogun, I think, is by default the starter for us and the incumbent, and there's still just not a whole lot of competition out there. But, I mean, they're not the story right now when it comes to Champions League.
Serginho Dest started for PSV, who suffered a 2-1 home defeat to Bayern Munich. Harry Kane got a late winner. Bayern finished second in the table. PSV crashed out of the competition.
I was sitting next to producer Sean here when we were watching it, and he was watching the, as a lot of us do, watch both the games and the social media, and there were people that were going off on Serginho Dest, lacking a sense of urgency. Well, any of us that have ever watched Serginho Dest know that he certainly marches to the beat of a very different drummer out there, and the things that he was doing and trying, but that's kind of what you want, and you take the good with the bad because the good outweighs the bad. You mentioned Freeman at the beginning of the show. It would be interesting to see if both of those guys get on the field and how that ultimately looks, or if there's only one, what Pochettino does. Because as good as Serginho Dest is, and he is good, and he can play multiple positions, if that musical chairs happens and that music stops, who's ultimately the starter if you can only start one of them?
And not that Pochettino is going to base it on this, but suddenly from a European club pedigree, Freeman has the edge. If they're both playing well the next few months for their clubs, I think doing it for a top 4 team in La Liga resonates more than doing it for PSV.
Well, no. I mean, because I would think you would have to be fair to Pochettino in that he has proven he doesn't ultimately
I agree.
care.
He doesn't care, but
right.
I'm just saying in terms of fan perception.
I'm sorry. Yes,
up to now, it had been Dest is the European guy with that sort of credential, while Freeman is an MLS player. You know?
But if you were to extrapolate out the notion that he doesn't care, then theoretically, somebody playing at, if a U.S. player were to play at Real Madrid or something like that, Pochettino might say, no, the guy playing at PSV is better, or the guy playing at the Columbus Crew is better.
Absolutely. PSV, incidentally, face Feyenoord this upcoming weekend in a top-of-the-table clash, but that sounds juicier than it is. They have a 14-point lead over Feyenoord, so not much drama in the Netherlands right now. Yunus Musa started for Atalanta, who suffered a 1-0 defeat away to Union Saint-Gilloise. Atalanta advanced to the playoff round, despite the loss.
Mosse, percentage-wise, what do you give? We were just talking about Pochettino, and he keeps us guessing for Musa to make the Are we saying it's a 26-man roster? I mean, like,
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
I don't know if that's been confirmed.
exactly.
But everybody's
No,
assuming.
But let's just say it's a 26-man
Yeah.
roster. Okay, what percentage-wise you think that Mosse makes?
I think if there aren't a lot of injuries in the midfield, let's say, like 20%. I don't think he's going to do anything in Atalanta in the next few months to help his cause. It's just going to be maybe Pochettino, when push comes to shove, believes in his talent so much and thinks he can get something out of him. But it is really depressing right now, his situation.
I mean, obviously taking away injuries. If you don't get called in, if you're a player and you don't get called in to the March friendlies, you can pretty much write it off, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Okay. And you say 20% for Mosse. Isn't that amazing? Because remember when Mosse was at his peak? And yes, it was relative to him being young. And so we kind of looked at, all right, he's this right now. Think of what he's going to be. But there were still times when he was doing things and getting that ball in those pockets in midfield and those first 2 or 3 steps and getting past people that, even though it's not a goal, there's an ooh and ah moment. And that we're now talking 20% chance that he even makes the roster for this summer. Hey, the world moves pretty fast, right, Mosse?
Yeah, another midfielder who's very much on the outside looking in right now is Johnny Cardoso. He came on as a sub for Atletico Madrid, who suffered a 2-1 home defeat to Bodo Glimt.
Wow.
The Norwegian side, they end the league phase by beating Manchester City and Atletico Madrid to make the playoff round. But yeah, Johnny, uninspiring again. And yeah, I don't see much chance for him to make that World Cup squad either.
But Bodo Glimt's, Bodo Glimt's what, the 23rd team? Is that what it looks like?
Correct.
So, I mean, it was fun watching the real-time standings change. And there were some big jumps. I mean, you look at Real Madrid and others like that, so it was fun.
Let's get to the craziness of the day. So Timmy Weah started for Marseille, who suffered a 3-0 defeat away to Club Brugge. But Marseille were still seconds away from advancing to the playoff round. Benfica was beating Real Madrid 3-2 in Lisbon, but the goal difference scenario was such where Benfica needed another goal, which, by the way, they didn't seem to realize because the last 20 minutes of that game, they were bunkered down. The fans were imploring them to push forward. They didn't do it, but they caught a break at the very end. They earned a free kick in the Real Madrid half. They knew it was going to be the last kick of the game, so everybody went up. Cross comes in, and Ukrainian goalkeeper Anatoly Trubin heads it past Courtois. 4-2 the final. Jose Mourinho going nuts. Benfica live to fight another day. And that loss, by the way, dropped Real Madrid to 9th. Yep. So they fall out of the top 8. So incredible repercussions there.
How dare you question the special one? All right? He had it all under control. He understood exactly what the timing was, and you don't want to go too early. And I love a goalkeeper goal. I mean, listen, goalkeepers can't live with them, can't throw them off the off the bridge. But when you need them, they save your ass, and every once in a while they come up. And not for nothing, but it's not like you can miss them. Usually they're over 6 feet tall. In this case, dude looked like Big Bird, huge yellow jersey on him. So it's not like you're. I'm sure everyone was looking around going, hey, guys, where'd this guy come from? Should we mark him? Maybe. I don't know. Anything, And to be fair, he did have a couple players around him, but he finished it like a champ. And then just craziness ensued, up and down, and Mourinho hugging everybody and all that kind of stuff. So it was exactly, again, what UEFA kind of wanted or envisioned for this night.
Mourinho made his name running down the touchline at Old Trafford back in the round of 16 in 2004 after Costinha scored a late goal to send Porto through at the expense of Manchester United. You know who the United goalkeeper was who spilled a rebound that allowed Costinha to score?
Who's that?
He hosts a podcast with Landon Donovan.
Never heard of
Mr. Tim Howard. And this was shades of that Mourinho's reaction. Afterwards, obviously, it had to be sweet against his former team, although he has a very good relationship with Arbeloa. Mourinho had an interview recently where he commented that, boy, there's a lot of random managers coaching major clubs all of a sudden, and some people interpreted that as a shot to Arbeloa, and he came out and said, no, absolutely not. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite players I ever coached, and they gave a big hug to each other before the match, so everything was good there. Nevertheless, for Benfica to get that kind of result against Real Madrid to survive is quite the feat for the special one.
So does that mean that there's a chance that Jose Mourinho could face Real Madrid if and when the selections happen?
Yeah, I'd have to see how
my friend Franklin Leonard over there on the old X machine, who I've followed, and he's a smart dude. He's like wishing it. He needs this to happen.
Well, they played today, so he got a taste of what that would look like already. Incidentally, Real Madrid had 2 players sent off, Asensio and Rodrigo, so they're going to be suspended for the playoff round. Mbappe scored both of their goals. He finished with the runaway top scorer in the league phase, 13 goals already in the Champions League this season for Kylian Mbappe.
The one that was dropped back to him that he hit first time, I mean, he's I don't mean to tell you, but the dude's really good.
You know who also scored 2 goals today?
Who's that?
Brazilian João Pedro in Chelsea's
3-2
away win over Napoli. Napoli crashed out of the competition, the reigning Italian champs. Boy, Antonio Conte, great domestic league record, but he can't seem to figure out Europe. I know you found it interesting. João Pedro's a guy that's been in England for a lot of years. You saw his interview afterwards. You weren't impressed with his English.
I mean, he even said in the interview, I've been here 6 years or something like that. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to, bust his you-know-what for it, but you would think there'd be a little bit more. It wasn't a riveting type of interview. I don't know, maybe if it had been in Portuguese, it might have been a little bit more animated.
No, I've seen his interviews in Portuguese. They're not that interesting either. Incidentally, 5 English teams finished in the top 8. Arsenal finished number 1 with a perfect 8 wins out of 8. Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man City all in the top 8. The only non-English teams, Bayern, Barcelona, and Sporting. And then you have the 2 finalists from last season, Inter and PSG, and Real Madrid in that playoff 9 through 24 deal. So it's going to be very interesting.
And 5 Americans moving on. Is that what we said?
Yeah, so let's see. You've got Juventus, so Weston, you've got Atletico Madrid, Johnny, Atalanta, Mosse, Leverkusen, Tillman, Monaco, Balogun. Did I miss anyone? Marseille, as we mentioned, crash out. PSV crash out. Villarreal, which is acquiring Freeman now, they crash out. So yeah, you've still got some Americans involved, which is fun.
All right. Well, where should we go to now, Mosse?
So I mentioned Arsenal, perfect 8 wins out of 8 in the Champions League. They're also still in first place in the Premier League. This upcoming weekend, they will be away to Leeds. When we taped Monday's pod, Leeds was playing away to Everton. That match finished 1-1. Brenden Aaronson had another terrific performance. He's been in great form, getting lots of praise. And I did see some people on X talking about the possibility of him being a starter at the World Cup. The discourse has reached that level.
Well, be careful. For years I have said form is fallacy, and it works both way. Obviously, whether you're a coach or a fan, you have your druthers, you would much rather that a player is playing well and then tries to translate that to the national team. But it doesn't always work like that. I do think that when Brenden Aaronson gets back on a plane, and I think he will be on the plane come March, and knock on wood, he stays healthy, I think he's coming back at a different level. I talked about Weston McKennie improving. And again, you never know when you hit that peak that people will tell you, oh, you're always learning, you're always growing. The reality is you're pretty much formed when you get into your mid-20s as a player. Doesn't mean you can't improve, but here and there. But all of that is to say is just because he is doing it, and I'm happy that he's doing it, doesn't mean that when he gets back into that environment that he's going to be able to translate it. But I do think that he is absolutely asking questions. I think if there was a question from Pochettino and company about Brenden Aaronson, I think he can point to what he has done from a club perspective. But again, get on that plane and do it on the other side.
Arsenal with a 4-point lead over City at the top of the table. Manchester United are 4th after beating Manchester City and Arsenal in Michael Carrick's first 2 games in charge. This weekend, they will host Jedi Robinson and Fulham. By the way, we're still waiting on the Pepe transfer. The window closes on Monday. Fulham did sign Oscar Bob today for like 30 million euros. Not the same position, but you wonder how much money they can spend in this window.
I mean, they got some money. They're looking underneath the pillows and all that kind of stuff. But so Manchester United in 4th. They win this weekend, and chances are they're playing at home against Fulham. As you mentioned before, you think that they will not make a coaching change and bring somebody in if it continues to go well.
Yeah, the way I see this playing out is Carrick doing well through the rest of the season, getting the job permanently, and then struggling and getting sacked in a year or 2.
That's would be Manchester United, at least this current version of Manchester United in a nutshell. What else we got?
And then we've got Nottingham Forest hosting Crystal Palace.
Oof.
Palace winless in their last 11 in all competitions. They're down to 15th in the table. Forest are 17th. So some relegation implications in this one.
Now some desperation soccer.
Yeah,
to
Forest
watch.
are 5 points above West Ham, who are in 18th right now, the last team being relegated. Palace, I believe, are 8 points clear of the relegation.
Yeah, but they gotta give themselves.
It's trending in the wrong direction.
Right, exactly. They got to give themselves some padding. All right, women.
Yes. Last night, the U.S. women made it 2 wins out of 2 in 2026. They hammered Chile 5-0. This match took place in Santa Barbara. First time in over 30 years the U.S. has played a game there. The goals, Bethune, Joseph, Sams, Sears, and Trinity Rodman, who scored and then did a little dance with Emma Hayes. Did you see that?
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
Yeah.
Conduct yourself. I
mean, I know I'm being a grouch and a curmudgeon about it, but it just like, and you play the teams that are in front of you.
Back in 2019, you defended the celebrations against Thailand. You and Rob Stone went at it in the postgame that day, but
in the World Cup,
in the 7 years since, you've gotten a big
in the World Cup.
Oh, okay.
Not at some random friendly up in, where did we say it was? Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara.
Whatever. And so last time a U.S. national team played in Santa Barbara was back in my day?
The article I read just mentioned the last time the women played there, which was back in 1991. But Sean Sullivan seems to think the men played there in 93 in the lead up to the 94 World Cup.
I feel like Russia, maybe back when it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it might have been Russia. I don't remember anything about it, and I sure as hell didn't do any dances. I don't even think we scored. So.
By the way, Sean thinks it's Romania.
Romania?
Which,
really?
That
sure
would have been
maybe
some Romania team. Remember George Hadji?
Well, as I've mentioned before, the 3 opponents that we had in the group stage in 94, Colombia, Switzerland, and Romania, we played them multiple times, some of the teams, multiple times before we ultimately faced them in the summer. So he may be absolutely right. As a matter of fact, he's probably got a computer in front of him and figuring it out. So either way, I don't remember anything on or off the field.
Interesting note on this game. The average caps for the U.S. starting lineup was 5. It's the lowest cap number in 25 years. So we're into 26, but Emma's still very much in this trying out new players, giving youngsters a chance mode.
Okay. Oh, we're throwing up some pictures here and some. Okay. So there it is. You know, the data shows, or the machine there shows that we played in Santa Barbara in 1993. Preparation for the World Cup.
Sean Sullivan all over it. He can't work a prompter, but he comes
he's
up
all
with
over.
good stats.
And while, it's easy to poo-poo these games, and it was not real type of competition, as we mentioned on the previous pod, to the extent that you are, again, getting that next generation and bloodying some of these younger players, that's obviously a good thing, and that's something that I think will have come out of these 2 games. But again, as far as the real competition and how that factors into Emma and company regaining the Women's World Cup, that's the most important part.
What is the favorite venue you played in for the U.S., either in the United States or around the world? I guess give me both, 2 different questions.
So around the world, there's nothing like San Siro, and there's nothing like, let's see, Mexico City, as the Azteca, and back when the Azteca. But I've always said the most difficult place that I ever played was the old Saprissa Stadium in Costa Rica. And it was, that
bags of urine.
Yeah, the Thunderdome type of environment, and the urine and the batteries and the coins. And oftentimes it was, really, really hot, no track or anything, right on top of you. And it was just, Azteca was just big. San Siro goes straight up. But the Saprissa, the old Saprissa, it was just, it wasn't like a stadium. It was almost like a prison yard, if you will. That's why, that whole Thunderdome type of thing was happening. In the United States, there's nothing like a game when the sun is going down in the Rose Bowl and the Rose Bowl is full. All right, and I know there's some nostalgia and that kind of romance of it. The Coliseum games here were always crazy, and they were always away games for us. And there was much more of like a amped up, violent type of aspect to that. Old Giant Stadium was really cool, and old Foxborough was a really cool type of environment. But I played Soldier Field and. Where was the place we played? I mean, I played in almost every one of these big stadiums.
It had to be special to play at the Silverdome at the World
Yes.
Cup, being
Rest in
from
peace,
Michigan.
the Silverdome. Yeah, one of the great days of my life was when we played Switzerland to start off the '94 World Cup at the old Silverdome. It was the first time that a World Cup game was played indoors. However, when I say indoors, it was anything but climate controlled. It was one of the hottest games that we ever played. It was like a hothouse in terms of the way it kept in all of the humidity.
Eric Winalda with the free kick.
Wonderful.
That was Roy Hodgson, coached Switzerland. That game the day after the O.J. Bronco chase. We've talked about that many times.
Yep. Henry Kissinger in the locker room beforehand and all that kind of stuff. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. What to now, Mosse?
That is it.
That's it? All right, let's take a quick break then. And when we come back, it's time for Ask Alexi. Don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back. It's time for Ask Alexi, the part of the show where you send in your comments, questions, and concerns. Keep in mind that our handle out there on all the old social media platforms is SOTU with Alexi. You can use that hashtag AskAlexi on social media, or you can call into our State of the Union podcast hotline, which is 657-549-2297, 657-549-2297. I know for a fact that we've been getting a lot of calls over there on the hotline about a number of different issues here. So, Mosse, what do the folks want to know today?
We have 2 voicemails. Let's take a listen to the first one now.
Good morning. This is Arden from New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm driving to work, and I had a thought that came to my mind. We are obviously coming up to a rather large World Cup for the United States, and I wondered, let's dream for a second that the United States wins the World Cup. Is the United States ready for such a victory? Is the United States in a soccer state of mind that a World Cup victory would give us the explosion and the catalyst to propel soccer in this country to where it should be? Or would it be better if they won 4 years from now, let's say, when the dust has settled from this World Cup and people are now more attuned to what soccer can do? Just curious of your thoughts. See ya.
Okay, thank you, Arden from Louisiana down there. Thank you for listening, and thank you for thinking about the show while you're driving to work. Well, first off, as far as the U.S. men winning a World Cup, I don't think there would be any better time in terms of capitalizing on that special moment than this summer in 2026 while hosting the World Cup. So pushing it forward 4 years, I don't know how that changes it. We're 30 plus years away from the 1994 World Cup. Obviously 1999 with the women was important, but if not now, when? And I'm not saying we won't continue on to improve as a soccer playing nation after this summer, but yeah, I would, if I could just say we are going to win a men's World Cup, would I rather have it be this summer than 4 years from now? No, I'd much rather have it be this summer. But I think you would agree, it is not a panacea. It doesn't solve all of our problems on and off the field. And we've said time and time again that the World Cup is going to come and go. The circus is going to leave town. And what is the legacy that it leaves? But obviously, it would be an incredible injection. It would be an incredible moment. I think it would be an iconic type of moment, not just in American soccer or sports history, but in American history. We're still celebrating the 1980 Olympic team, men's hockey team, for what it did. Not necessarily what it did for hockey, but what it did for the country and the pride that came out of that. Again, this is happening on our 250th birthday, all right? All of that synergy, that happens this summer. And, again, we will go on to future World Cups. I do think that we are prepared for something like that. I don't think the vast majority of people, whether they're into soccer or not, are expecting that by any stretch of the imagination. It would be the likes of which we last saw, I think, in 1980 when the U.S. Hockey team won gold. So all of that is to say, Arden, I'm here for it. I want it, but I recognize, like everybody else, that harnessing that moment for the future, that's easier said than done. But I think we would be in a lot better place with that in our pocket than without.
Yeah, a lot of people in this country consume soccer like an Olympic sport.
Mhm.
They only really care about it for a month every 4 years. We see a huge spike in our views for this podcast during World Cups. Our TV ratings are great. It would be interesting if the U.S. won the World Cup, how many of those people would stick around? It would be so exciting, they would compel them to become soccer fans full time. Would we see a discernible increase in the popularity of soccer in this country?
I don't know what the record is for TV viewing, but if the soccer gods conspired to have the United States make the final this summer, what that rating would be and how many Americans would tune in to watch a World Cup final that featured, I don't know, the United States versus France, the United States versus Spain, or it really doesn't matter, the United States versus anybody. I'm talking about here in the United States. Obviously, there would be, worldwide type of numbers, but specifically here in the United States, I think it would break, not just sports TV records, but TV records in general going forward. We should be so lucky to be in that position. But again, Arden, I like that you're thinking about this, and it's a fun exercise to go through because you're absolutely right in that all of our problems wouldn't be solved, but it would be a hell of a lot healthier and energized type of culture. And to Mosse's point, people come into this tent temporarily to expose them to a winning team and to have people unite and celebrate the country, again, on our 250th birthday. I think that would be something that would live long past my lifetime, long past your lifetime, but long in the hearts and minds of future generations as they look back.
And as we know, Al Michaels' Do You Believe in Miracles from 1980 is iconic. It'd be interesting to see what John Strong would come up with in that moment as the U.S. won the World Cup.
Well, I mean, he is always prepared, and so I would think you have to be prepared. Who knows? You never know. You can dream. And, these miracles that we saw can happen. What else we got?
Another voicemail. Let's take a listen to this one.
Hey, gentlemen, this is Chris Farrington of the Los Farringtons shared account fame in Nicaragua. Once again, calling Statman. I apologize, Statman Mosse, at Statman Mosse on the Twitter. I have a deep in the woods question for you guys. And Alexi, I don't think you're going to like it, but do you think that the introduction of promotion relegation in the USL, which looks like this, I'm looking at a tweet, USL Premier, USL Championship, USL League One, it already sounds amazing. And I think the MLS is miscalculating how popular this is going to be. The chance for tiny little towns in nowhere land America to climb into the top leagues. Soccer is the only sport where it can be done. It's done all over Europe, and I think MLS needs to be careful. God bless you guys. Appreciate the show. Love what y'all do, and man, still hoping Reina can get out of the doghouse. But happy to see Aaronson making some noise. Looking forward to the World Cup. Blessings.
All right, Chris from Nicaragua. Thank you for calling, and thank you for correcting yourself, but also for listening and watching to the pod all these years. And we just finished talking about what is not going, or what would not be a panacea, what would not be a silver bullet, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to winning the World Cup or something like that. I also don't think that promotion relegation, and certainly in this form, is going to fundamentally change the landscape of American soccer. And for people that don't know, the USL has decided to implement this. Now, they've decided to implement pro-rel in what a lot of people would consider a bastardized version, in that there are multiple, I guess, pyramids out there. And for anybody that has listened to me over the years, I have always said that there is nobody stopping anybody out there from implementing promotion relegation, and that I would, and at this point do, support those who are bringing it to market as a alternative product. As I said, someone's going to see this as a bastardized version of pro-rel or an illegitimate version of pro-rel. That's on them. But it is going to be an interesting experiment. Those people that do see it like that are going to say, well, I want to have all or the vast majority of teams and leagues out there as part of one single pyramid operating under Pro Rel, rather than having multiple pyramids that are operating under whatever structure it is that they feel is appropriate for their business. U.S., I think everybody would agree, is a very unique culture and a very unique landscape. We have a history of a dominance of multiple sports and other multiple sports and leagues, which I think creates a really competitive environment, and it provides, let's be honest, some business challenges that others don't have. But I do see professional sports as a business, and there are others that might want to structure their company differently and sell their product differently and compete against others differently out there. But I'm here for this. I'm here for this experiment. But it's never going to be everything that some people want. But at least USL is trying something different to potentially separate themselves from Major League Soccer. And ultimately, the consumer, the audience, the fan is going to decide what they want. Obviously, MLS has had a hell of a head start and sits way beyond USL. But maybe, to Chris's point, this is something that is going to energize those that either have not followed soccer or those that want to follow soccer but want to follow it in its more traditional sense here with promotion relegation. But I'm here for it.
That's it.
That's it? You got nothing to say?
Well, I am one of those people that thinks this is a bastardized, illegitimate version of Pro Rel. I think you need the biggest, most successful league in the country to be a part of that pyramid, to be that carrot at the end of the stick, to really see how that would feel.
Really?
But alas, it's not to be.
Okay. All right. But are you in favor of forcing people to do that? So that one pyramid that exists in most countries around the world, albeit in a very different culture, as we just said, but are you in favor of forcing people to do that, to structure it in a certain way and everybody is under that same structure and has to abide by that structure?
I would like to see that happen at some point.
Really?
Maybe not overnight, but you can say, hey, we're going to put a plan in place that 5 years from now, we're going to start doing this, so adjust accordingly. And you can see who's still in and who's out, and you go from there.
Okay. Well, I think we have fundamental differences when it comes to capitalism and competition and all that.
I'm to the left of New York's new mayor. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, tell us what you think. If you think that this is going to change things in terms of the landscape out there, what USL is doing. And again, I've always said I will support it, and so I support this, and I look forward to seeing what it does. Doesn't mean I don't support MLS. I am of the belief that you can have multiple different pyramids, which each of those pyramids deciding what they want. And if pyramids want to connect and merge, there we go. That's fine if that's what they ultimately want to do. All right. Anything else, Mosse?
That's it.
All right. Another quick break. We'll come back. It's the end of my show, or your show, or our show. It's our show. But anyway, it's the end coming up. I'll give you my one for the road. All right. By the sight and sound of the van, you know it's the end of our show, and at the end of each and every show, I give you my one for the road. Mosse, I'm back on the road. Speaking of the road, so yeah, bright and early tomorrow morning, I'll be heading off once again out into the wilds of our great country. I'm heading over to Miami, which I hear, by the way, is incredibly cold. Now, cold is relative, given what's going on with the rest of the country. But for Miami, it's really, really cold. Really fun event that I'm heading down to, like I said, in Miami. The United States Soccer Foundation's Pitch Perfect Gala down there. And all sorts of luminaries from the soccer world are coming down there. We'll be giving out an award to Kenneth C. Griffin and Coach Bora Milutinovic to receive some of the highest honors from the United States Soccer Foundation, which is celebrating its past 30 years. It was a result of the 1994 World Cup. And a bunch of my teammates from the 1994 World Cup team will be down there, including, let's see here, Kobe's coming down, Kobe Jones, Jurgen Sommer, Marcelo Balboa, Mike Burns, Paul Caligiuri, Clay Koyman, Brad Friedel, Eric Winalda, Thomas Dooley, Frank Klopas, John Harkes, Our good friend Carly Lloyd is coming down. Drew Carey, always a friend of soccer, is going to be on hand, and then a lot of other people that are going to be down there. It's black tie, so I had to get my black tie out and my shiny shoes because I'm going to be doing some hosting duties down there. But it's going to be fun, and the reason why I mentioned this is obviously there's going to be a lot of throwback type of stuff and nostalgia stuff, given what '94 meant. Lots of different appearances leading up to this summer, lots of different opportunities, and you got to strike while the iron is hot, which is why I'm on the road so much. But not only is it good to be wanted at different times, but the fact that so many people want to talk about soccer, and a lot of times when I'm doing these talks, it's about the juxtaposition with where we were back in 1994 and where we are. And I know a lot of times on this show we scream and yell and rant and complain about different things. And as I think those of us that have been in American soccer, including you, Mosse, sometimes we kick ourselves for what we haven't done. And I think it's really important at times also to pat ourselves on the back and even celebrate how far we have come in a relatively short period of time. And certainly, while 30 years is a long time, it's also a relatively short period of time, given how far we have come as a soccer playing nation, both on and off the field. And that the fact that so many people want to celebrate that and recognize that, and if me or any others that have been around for a long time can give them that context, that's cool. And so it's been fun, like I said, private events, public events, big events, small events, to kind of traipse around the country to everybody that I do think is incredibly excited about what is to come and is using this summer to celebrate what has come before. And by doing that, recognizing that final whistle that we've talked about is going to blow, and then what's that legacy and what are we going to do? And, an entity like the United States Soccer Foundation, which has given so much to so many for so long, and hopefully will continue to give, especially young boys and girls, the opportunity to use soccer in a safe environment, in a nurturing environment, in a supportive environment that teaches them tools that, they may or may not make them better soccer players, but they are going to go on to lead what I feel is the greatest country in the world and be those young men and women that are hopefully going to have the skills to do it in a positive way going forward. So pleasure to be a part of this group and head down to Miami, and we're going to have a good old time.
Tell Eric and Carly I said hi.
I will.
Let me know how Carly's baby is doing.
Oh yes, I know you're a big baby guy.
We bonded last summer.
You're like a baby whisperer. Anybody gives you a baby, automatically that baby just goes goo goo in your arms. It's an incredible trait to have. What are you watching, my friend?
Today it's going to be What Am I Eating?
Ooh, awesome, wonderful. All right, lay it on me.
My friend Scott Norwood, his parents are in town. So tonight we're going out to eat at one of my favorite restaurants, an Italian place in Santa Monica called La Vecchia Cucina. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Now, I just said my friend's name is Scott Norwood. Did you know that yesterday was the 35-year anniversary of Super Bowl 25 when a guy named Scott Norwood missed a last-second kick for the Buffalo Bills against the New York Giants? And my buddy has great stories about what it's been like to go through life with that name and people thinking he's that Scott Norwood.
That's right. You mentioned him before, so I mean he must be used to it right now. Let's just roll off his back. But have you eaten there before?
Oh, many times.
Okay, so do you have a go-to dish?
Oh, they make a mean chicken parm.
Chicken parm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now, we're looking forward to a Super Bowl involving the Patriots. Do you know who the defensive coordinator for the Giants was in that Super Bowl 25 when they beat the Bills?
No.
Bill Belichick,
yes,
who then went on to win 6 Super Bowls as head coach of the Patriots, which you would have thought would have gotten him into the Hall of Fame. I'm always curious to see which non-soccer sports stories hit your radar. I saw you posting on X about this. Can you believe it? Bill Belichick did not get in the Hall of Fame.
Human's gonna human, my friend. All right, any type of vote or arbitration or whatever it ends up being, where people have to decide, or humans have to decide, you're going to come with your bias. And I think probably that's what's happening. By the way, I saw our colleague Colin Cowherd talking about how, I think he was justifying the vote because Belichick, without Tom Brady, only had like a 44% record or something like that. So he was like, it's okay if you take a year. No. I mean, either. So say he's a bad coach then. All right, if that's where you're coming from, then just say he's a bad coach. Yeah. But he won how many Super Bowls?
6 as a head coach.
Okay, and he just threw out the ball. Okay, evidently that's what we're going with.
Now, Michael DeCourcy of the Sporting News, he wrote a column today defending Belichick not getting in on the basis that he was involved in multiple scandals throughout his career. He was accused of stealing signs, and so he thinks he never had to vacate wins or never got suspended for that. But at the very least, as punishment for all that, he should have to wait a year to get into the Hall of Fame.
Look,
so I guess Michael won't be voting for Jim Harbaugh in the College Football Hall of Fame.
As you know, I don't know a tremendous amount about football, but I know that this guy was a perennial winner of Super Bowls, all right? He must have done something right, okay? So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me that this is happening.
You know, he's now the coach of North Carolina, and he has like a 20-something-year-old
Oh,
girlfriend.
I have seen this.
Have you seen the whole story?
But again, that people are bringing that to the vote, all right? And, again, humans, that's what we do. We bring our biases and our baggage and our history. And when we are voting on somebody, this guy wronged me, or this guy did this that I didn't like, or I don't like the fact that he's got a hot girlfriend, or whatever it ends up being here. So this is just ridiculous, Mosse. Absolutely ridiculous. You know what isn't, though, is Blue Moon. Have you seen this one? One of these nominated films. So I watched that the other night. Ethan Hawke.
Terrific, huh?
Ethan Hawke is really, really good. I mentioned what was the ping pong game?
Marty Supreme, Timothy Chalamet.
I thought he was really, really good, specifically in that character. The movie wasn't great, or the story wasn't great, but he was really, really good. I mean, Ethan Hawke carries this movie and just does an incredible job playing, Hart from the Rodgers and Hart musical combo that wrote Blue Moon and another, 1,000 other songs out there. But I thought it basically happens in one kind of restaurant bar the entire movie, and he holds your attention and keeps you interested throughout. So
very good film.
He did a really, really good job, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he wins. I also saw Song Sung Blue with Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson. I thought it was too long, and it took like 40 minutes for the actual event that fundamentally changes it to a different story to happen. So it could have been edited. It just took way, way too long to get there. But Kate Hudson, I think, is nominated, and I think she did a really, really good job. She's a great actress, and the singing of it didn't take anything away from the really, interesting story that was there.
All right, so you're working your way through it. I'd like for you to see one battle after another in F1. I'm curious to get your take on.
All right, that's my next thing to do here, Mosse. Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, before we go, hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. I need the right person with the right background who can move our business forward. If I wanted candidates who match what I'm looking for, I'd trust Indeed sponsored jobs. If we were hiring somebody to join our team right here, I'd go to Indeed, and I'd be super specific to find someone who's worked on podcasts before. Duh! And here's the thing with Indeed sponsored jobs. I'd get people who fit that description. I'm not digging through resumes from people who've edited one YouTube video. I'm getting people who know what they're doing. People who have worked on shows just like ours and can prove it's what they do, and it also proves that how they make the difference. You get people who actually are what you're looking for, all right? You spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show, oh yeah, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/Lalas. Just go to Indeed.com/Lalas right now and support our show by saying you heard about it. You heard about Indeed. Right here on this podcast, Indeed.com/Lalas. Terms and conditions apply. Are you hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. All right, Mosse, anything before we go?
That's it.
All right, keep downloading and reviewing and subscribing and rating and doing all the different things that you do out there. Double fisting, bam, bam, smash that button. Smash that button over there on the old YouTube channel. We keep getting more and more numbers. If you watch, listen, I don't care how you digest this show. I just care that you put it down your gullet. That's what I'm talking about. All right, have a wonderful weekend. I am off to the great city of Miami to freeze my ass off, evidently. I know it's not really cold, but it's Miami cold. Anyway, I'll tell you all about it next week when we talk to you again. And until then, and as always, my friends, size the day.